countdown is on to the Summit Federal Credit Union Taste of Syracuse. The area's largest food festival is back June 6th and 7th in and around Clinton Square. As always, admission is totally free. Chow down on $2 samples while you enjoy a full weekend's worth of live entertainment from local and national acts, including Stephen Page, formerly of Bare Naked Ladies. Kick off your summer the right way at the Summit Federal Credit Union Taste of Syracuse, presented by Tops Friendly Markets, June 6th and 7th in and around Clinton Square. For more info, check out tasteofsyracuse.com.
Fran Brown this, Fran Brown that.
If you want me to take a lie detector, Brian, I'll take it.
Portal watch this, Portal watch that.
The dog Marmaduke. People say I like that dog.
What are you talking about playing walk-on? Who do you think walked onto the team?
Anybody that thinks this is going to come back is either naive or plain stupid.
All across CNY.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
It's the 315.
Hardy faking, feeds the Grace Jameson. He
scores! He scores! Wow!
Here's Brian Higgins.
Tuesday. How we doing, people? How are we doing on this Tuesday? Hey, that guy that did that woo in the open there, he'll be on the show today. Kyle coming up in a half hour. That woo was, this is how long it's been since Syracuse has won a natty. That woo is 16 years old and aging like fine wine. We'll see if the Orange can make a push toward the Final Four this Saturday as they take an old rival Princeton at 2:30 in the quarters. But welcome in here in the Q's, Utica, Rome. What's up, Rome? How we doing on this Tuesday? Q Sports Talk. Get all up in the chat. Let us know what's going on. QSportsTalk.com on the Twitch, on the YouTube. Both great places to be hanging out today. You know our phone number, 315-437-7644. Give a ring throughout our time together today. You want to talk Lax, Fran Brown, Red, the newest head coach of Boeheim's Army. One Alan Griffin was announced earlier this afternoon. Griff will be on the show tomorrow to discuss everything going along with that. Our guest today, Kyle Federley, talking Lax later on this hour. Always great to talk with Kyle as he goes through his 8 millionth NCAA tournament. Ask him, where does the game Sunday slot? Great game, fantastic game. We talked about it a lot yesterday. But he's seen them all of any consequence here over the last 4+ decades. Does that one stand out, or is that one just buried in a sea of fantastic Cuse lacrosse memories over the years? We'll get that with Kyle, and, their chances Saturday. Princeton, Final Four on the line. Season's still ongoing, all that good stuff. Hour 2, our guy Matt Vincenzi, golf writer, golf picker, Sports Illustrated, joins us 2 days in advance of the PGA Championship from Quail Hollow down in North Carolina. No shows for us Thursday and Friday because the PGA Championship will be on our airwaves, courtesy of our fine friends at Westwood One. But always great to chat with Matt, get some picks. He was all over Rory at the Masters. And we'll see where he directs us down at Quail Hollow, of course, that Rory has won on 4 times previously during the regular season, whatever you call the not majors during the golf. So a little golf next hour. Kyle, he had the triple woo. Not 1, not 2, but 3. A triple woo for the game-winning goal on Sunday in the Dome. So there's the show. That's the show as we get ready to roll here on this Tuesday.
We start with a Burdick BMW opening drive.
All right, so off and running here on this Tuesday. So Lax in a bit. We'll talk Griff next hour. We'll talk with Griff tomorrow. But, we are deep in the meaty heart of football kickoff time announcement season. We are knowing times and times and times. Yesterday, we learned that Syracuse would be taking on Notre Dame on Saturday, November the 22nd at 3:30 in the afternoon on the National Broadcast Corporation, NBC. So that's one major network. Today, we learned that the season opener, the Chick-fil-A kickoff game from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, got to get your sponsors in, will be on the American Broadcasting Corporation on ABC, a nooner A nooner to open the season. Not huge on the nooner to open the season. It's not exactly the best TV time of the day. Prime time that day on ABC went for the Battle of the Death Valleys, LSU at Clemson. And Syracuse at noon that day will be going head-to-head with Texas at Ohio State on big noon Saturday on Fox. So it's a pretty big, intriguing kickoff weekend coming up. But already now, we know the kickoff times and television channels for two games this season. 1-2. The opener, Syracuse and Tennessee, ABC noon Saturday, August 30th. The penultimate game of the regular season, Saturday, November 22nd, Syracuse at Notre Dame, 3:30 NBC. Two of the major broadcast networks. Syracuse is on both of them. Last year, in the regular season, Syracuse did play on Fox in the Holiday Bowl. Last year in the regular season, count them 12 games, Syracuse was on major broadcast television 0 times. None. And in this, the first year of the new revenue sharing model for the ACC, where brand, TV ratings, all that stuff is going to help divvy up a portion of the pie, playing on major television channels is a very good thing for Syracuse when it comes to a little extra cha-ching in the pocket. So there we go. There we go on that. ABC for the opener, NBC for the second to last game. And just quickly looking at the schedule, obviously it's really hard to predict some of these in advance, and they do it week by week for a reason when you get later in the season as far as games, networks, and whatever, to make sure they have the best matchups on the best channels at the best times, and we all understand how TV scheduling works. Week 4 of the season is potentially intriguing here as far as another opportunity for Syracuse to be on major broadcast television if all goes well. And all going well potentially includes having to beat Tennessee in the opener. So not only would all be going well, all would be going well. Yes. But Syracuse, Tennessee in the opener. Clemson host LSU in the opener. Syracuse and Clemson play in week 4 in Death Valley. As, part of the crazy march through this season with these 4 college football playoff teams from a year ago on the schedule all the way from the Dome. Add in Miami, down in Miami. Add in Georgia Tech, another trip down to Atlanta next year. Like, Syracuse has 6 games not in the Dome next year, and not a single one of them is easy. And I'd say not a single one of them is even really neutral at this point, looking at returning quarterbacks, places you're going, caliber of team, no Kyle McCord. We know the deal of Syracuse this year. I think we can all be excited about Fran, all be excited about what he's doing in recruiting, all be excited about the future, and still be realistic looking at what's to come this year. If Syracuse can beat Tennessee in week 1, big if. UConn and Colgate weeks 2 and week 3. I know UConn's not a kickover, but you should beat them at home. Colgate, clearly you win that game. If you're 3-0 and headed to Clemson that week, it's fun to speculate. Who's Clemson got after LSU? Now, Clemson's got a bear of an opener with LSU in their Death Valley, but Clemson's bringing back a lot. They're bringing back the quarterback in Cade Klubnik. That's going to be a matchup with Klubnik and Nussmeier, of 2 of the favorites potentially next year to be quite literally the number 1 pick in the draft. But if Clemson wins that game, the defending ACC champs, mind you, after banging that long field goal, they've got Troy in week 2, then at Georgia Tech, so they got a tricky game in week 3. But there's a possibility if Syracuse can beat beat Tennessee. Playing a lot of teams wearing orange early in the year. You got a shot for yet another network television kind of game down at Clemson. Like most of Syracuse's recent appearances on ABC, regular season ACC games anyway, it's been because they were playing Clemson. It's been because of Clemson. And we got into it late in the regular season last year when they announced the idea of these, not the success initiatives, but the brand awareness initiatives, or whatever the hell they're calling all this stuff down in ACC country. The different ways the money will be distributed in the league. And then you looked at ABC getting the SEC TV rights last year, and basically almost all of the ACC, ABC, TV spots got all those letters ended up sliding from the ACC to the SEC. The ACC lost complete hold on that 3:30 in the afternoon slot, of which they weren't locked into every week in years past, but they certainly had reasonable access to in years past. That was almost completely gonzo last year. You play in these games. Still today, I get it, streaming 8 million different ways to watch games. ESPN today announced officially how they're going to release their over-the-top, how you can subscribe to everything ESPN without having cable and all of that. There's 8 million ways to watch games now. But still, the most reliable way to have a highly watched sporting event is to have it on a major broadcast network. For it to be on CBS, for it to be on ABC, for it to be on NBC, for it to be on Fox. The most reliable way to have a high-watched college football game is to be on one of those channels on a weekly basis. And because the ACC will be breaking up part of its television money to distribute to its members, a.k.a. Syracuse, based on eyeballs, it is good to be on those channels. We know 2 of the 12 games, and 2 of the 12 games, Syracuse is playing on a broadcast network. Good start for lining the buckets. Bad start for trying to win the games. Those are 2 tough games. The one problem here is you're playing on those channels, strength of schedule has gone up. A lot of Syracuse's recent ABC has been versus Clemson. They did win it on NBC a few years ago when they won out to Purdue and won, right? But if you're playing Notre Dame on NBC, yeah, strength of schedule's gone up. But it's a good place to be. These are called, like, good problems to have. These are the good problems to have here going forward. But it's starting to trickle out here. Starting to trickle out. We know the opener. You don't like the nooner for the opener on Saturday. That's a tough spot. Noon, Saturday. I get it's not going to affect a dome crowd. We can't complain about the dome crowd being affected by the fair. But, apple picking. But, you don't necessarily like a nooner on August 30th. Doesn't quite feel like you're into it. But, beggars can't be choosers. You got ABC week 1, and we'll see how it develops. But football kick time season underway. It's officially underway. We got 2 games in 2 days. Will we get a little nibble tomorrow? I feel this stuff is coming out even earlier than normal. Tomorrow, they're starting to trickle out all the NFL dates. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock is the official release of the full NFL schedule. Today they've released the international games, and they're trickling out other stuff going on. So, it's a good time. Football's amazing, man. It's May 13th. We couldn't be farther from football in either direction. Like, the Super Bowl was a few months ago, the national championship game longer ago than that. We are currently carry the 109 days away from August 30th that we just happen to know just off the top of our heads because our 100-day countdown starts next Thursday. So, we couldn't be farther in either direction away from football. And yet, here we are. Football, NFL, college, just kicking down the door, being like, yo, here's when the games are. Who wants to know? Here are when the games are. So, yeah, what's that? What are you, baseball? What are you, were you playing, you're playing right now? Oh, that's cute. Hockey, basketball, the playoffs? Huh? Good for you. NBA, rigging draft lotteries? Yeah, whatever. Football's like, here's what a game is 6 months from now. We're like, yes. Feed me the catnip. We will nibble at it. That's fantastic. So we know a few kick times, and they're both on major television after Syracuse. The only network games they played last year were on the CW. Yes, that is floating through the sky right now. The Orange played on the CW 3 straight weeks. Here's hoping in Fran Brown year 2. The Orange are not the official ACC team of the CW yet again. That you don't want that in year 2 going on. So we'll see how that all comes to pass for Syracuse this year. But 2 games, 2 networks, and that is our Burdick BMW opening drive here today. All right, great day on the markets yesterday. How was the follow-up today? We got Bill from Lee Baldwin. All right, how did this Tuesday follow up that big day yesterday, Bill?
We had strength in most of the averages, but only the Dow falling today, falling over 260 points due to United Health Group. But Another good follow-through from yesterday is President Trump's now in Saudi Arabia doing deals over there in the Middle East. Plenty of diamonds once again. Tech was another big winner today. We're going to go with Coinbase, a crypto platform company, jumping 24%, up nearly 100% in the last month, as it's followed the crypto rebound in the last month. They're getting added to the S&P 500, which means a lot of money managers will have to be buying that stock if they want to mimic the S&P. And then not many dogs, but the one big dog is United Health Group, down 17%, down 50% in the last month. They're kind of the middleman, so if Trump gets his way and lowers drug prices, United Health and others will feel the pinch, and that stock's been on a downtrend. But overall, great start to the week.
All right, we like to hear that, Bill. 2 good days in a row. Bill from Lee Baldwin with all of the diamonds and none of the dogs. More info at leebaldwin.com. leebaldwin.com. I will take a break. Phone lines open next, 315-437-7644. Kyle Federley on Lax later this hour. Get our PGA Championship picks from our guy Matt Vincenzi coming up in hour 2. Off and cooking on a Tuesday here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. I did just say catnip, super cat. What's up, chat? How are we? What is up in the chat? What was that? What's happening on the hall here? Did that just happen? Pete Rose, shoeless Joe Jackson among players reasons. Why did that happen today? Why? Rob Manfred on Tuesday removed Pete Rose, Joe Jackson, other deceased players from Major League Baseball's permanently ineligible list. What a weird day for that to happen on. Pete Rose has been dead for 1 year-ish. I forget when he died exactly. Look, it's Mike. The hell? Oh.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Unless we double up games here, there's no way I can catch you.
It's a fact. It's a sad fact. Tomorrow's Mike's last, full-time day around here. We may still bring him in to kick around, but Mike's gone out and got the big boy job.
It's all right. We're going out with 3 mics.
Only one of them's on. Only one of them's on.
Oh, we might not have a puck.
Uh-oh.
What the puck?
Where is he going? I don't know. We just kicked him out the door. He's got to find his own way now.
Going to AAA.
Mike's going to AAA. Said I know the answer, but that's Mike's news to tell.
True.
Yes.
Dang, I appreciate that. Going to AAA. Full-time job. It's going to be nice.
He's going to be helping you.
Yes. It's remote, which I'm actually really excited for.
So he will not be helping you in person.
No, but over the phone.
He could be helping you.
I got you. I get a free AAA membership. All right, you ready? That's right. Wow. You know what? I needed the confidence of a new job.
Thank God his last day's tomorrow. I'm still up 2. Yes, he's going to AAA wrestling in Mexico. He's a luchador.
Just don't tell my identity.
Yes, he's going to put the mask on. Yes, he's going to the Syracuse Mets. He's going to AAA baseball. Why are there so many AAAs?
I'm going to make this shot. You ready for this? Oh.
Mike will probably still be in here every now and again.
3rd time's a charm. Yeah, when I can. It's all the shifts change every 6 months. So for the first 6 months, I'll have Mondays off. So if you guys ever need me, I can come in on a Monday.
It'd be kind of funny if you just were doing AAA from right there.
Yeah, I get at my own desk.
What? Battery's not working.
I run out in the middle of the 4-on-1. I gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike works for TKO now because WWE bought AAA Mexico. So that's, yeah, you're a luchador. Yeah, you work for The Rock. Congratulations. You're going to get the rock bottom is what you're going to get. Yes, Jen, I think that was the gist of what Bill said.
Here's Brian Higgins.
Here we are, rolling along on this Tuesday afternoon, talking lax with our guy Kyle Federley in around about 10, 315-437-7644. Phone lines open and available to you, and that's where we find Frank in Chicago. What's going on, Frank?
How are you doing on this Tuesday, Brian?
Doing wonderful, Frank. How are you?
Good. So I want to talk about this football scheduling that you talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So Syracuse has 2 national TV games, right?
Thus far, yep, that we know about.
Okay. One of them I really want to know about. So the Notre Dame game, is that one... Will Syracuse go on the road, or will they be at the Dome for that one?
That game is in South Bend. That game is at Notre Dame, November 22nd.
Okay, that's what I thought, 'cause that's what NBC does, the home games for Notre Dame.
Correct.
That's what I thought. Yeah. All right. So, based on all of the other games, there's no TV networks for those yet, right?
No, they'll release over the summer the first month or so, generally, of kickoff times. Then as the season goes on, they kind of let it play out. We'll learn kick times about 2 weeks in advance. You usually learn the Monday, 12 days before the game, what time and what TV channel the game is on.
All right, and I want to talk about this MLB news and the Yankees.
Okay.
So, fans in New York may know that the Yankees bullpen has not done that great.
Yeah.
Yep. The bullpen has not been great. Devin Williams, their new signing, has not done that great, and he has blown saves, which is shocking when the Yankees literally signed him, to close the games.
Yeah, he's not gotten off to a start that has thrilled Yankees fans. That said, they still have the second best record in the AL, so I think they got time to figure it out here, Frank.
They do, but I just feel like when the trade deadline say they have to sign someone for the bullpen, because at least to me, this bullpen looks not that great.
Yeah, he has not been Mariano Rivera reborn so far this season, so we'll see where it goes for the Yankees going forward, Frank.
Yep, and that's all I have for you today, Brian.
All right, Frank. Appreciate the call as always, Frank in Chicago, and we'll find out the football schedule stuff as it comes in. Obviously Colgate in week 3, UConn in week 2 are not exactly going to get premier television assignments, and the Clemson week 4 game, that feels like one you let play out after week 1 to see. All right, does Clemson beat it? Like, if Clemson beats LSU and if Syracuse beats Tennessee, like, suddenly Clemson-Syracuse is like a major, major football game. Like, a major, major football game. Syracuse loses Tennessee, Clemson loses to LSU. Like, okay, it's still pretty good, but it's not a major, major game. But the week 1 results could really, really hype up week 3. We talk about, Syracuse has never hosted College Game Day. Has anyone heard that before? That Syracuse has not hosted College Game Day? Is that news? If Syracuse beats Tennessee, I have not looked at the week 4 schedule for college football elsewhere, but if Syracuse beats Tennessee and Clemson beats LSU, Death Valley's in play. Unless ESPN's already in Death Valley week 1. The week 1 game day destination, like normally it's like, whatever. You're going to go to a great game. You got plenty of choices, whatever. But this year's, considering week one is like the Lee Corso send-off, the last Lee Corso game day, man, there's a lot on that. Like LSU Clemson, that's your prime time ABC game. You'd kind of figure they'd go there. Death Valley wouldn't be a bad place. You wonder, it kind of stinks, like the first ever game day where Corso did the headgear was an Ohio State game. Ohio State is hosting Texas in week one. Massive college football game. But it's a noon game. It's big noon Saturday on Fox. So, and it's not that they won't go to where a Fox game is. And they generally don't go to noon games because the fans need to leave to go into the stadium. So you're not going to necessarily do that for a noon game. So I don't know where they're going to end up, which is why, Syracuse and Tennessee maybe could have been in the mix, but they are the noon game, so I would highly doubt that. So we'll see where it goes. Is Florida State hosting Alabama? Florida State and Alabama are playing week one. Hang on just a moment, please. We can do a quick research here. Sorry, Kyle. You're going to have to wait 8 seconds while we look this up. Lee Corso, as is known, went to Florida State, played, was he his roommate? I think he was Burt Reynolds' roommate. They were college teammates at Florida State. So I suppose they could just end up, we're predicting where college game day will go week one of the 2025 season in May. Why? Because we feel like it. Where is that game? Scrolling. Is that game in Tallahassee? Oh, that game's in Tallahassee? That's the 3:30 ABC game in Tallahassee? Yeah, never mind. They're going there. They're sending Lee Corso out at home. All right, problem solved. With that, we will take a break. When we come back, Kyle Federle talking lax. Where's he ranking Sunday night's game and all the games he's seen and all of the games he has seen, essentially, for the last 45-plus years of Syracuse lacrosse, give or take just a very, very few. With that, we'll step aside. Kyle next. Your calls after that. Here on a Tuesday, it's Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio, and this hour brought to you by DVOffers.com. $68 an hour. Wow. That's a lot of bucks an hour. You met Georgia Woolery today? Shall I assume you mean Georgia Woolley? Unless you met Chuck Woolery. That would be interesting. I'm going to guess they count ticket sales buckets because, that's what I'm guessing they do. But it's also universities are not going to inflate ticket numbers for NCAAs because the NCAA has their hand in the pocket on that stuff. Like NCAA sets ticket prices and stuff. There you go, Govinda. We like Georgia. We'll miss her Aussie accent. Yeah, a lot of people do that, Govindo. She got so much stuff. Like, you get so much of that gear. It's hard to keep it, like, especially she's from Australia. Like, that'd be a lot to lug back home. Might as well make a few bucks. Griff is coaching TBT San Diego Qs. And he'll be on the show tomorrow. Yeah, well, 5, I think. Spatch and the Wheeze. Like, Jimmy Boeheim's playing, but he hasn't been officially announced. They were teasing like 3 big announcements. Griff was the first. I haven't seen any more.
All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
That it is. Here we are, Tuesday afternoon. Still coming down a little bit off that lax game from Sunday evening as the Orange come from 6 down at the half to knock off Harvard in overtime and advance to see how many Ivy League teams they can beat. Apparently, as Syracuse and Princeton will face it off, scheduled for 2:30 Saturday down on Long Island at Hofstra. With that, we bring on our next guest, Kyle Federle. Kyle, I'm sure you'll be you're used to this. You'll be killing a little extra time, I imagine, in the pregame show because there's about a 0.0 chance that game actually starts at 2:30 on Saturday. But I'm sure you'll be happy to be down there for yet another quarterfinal.
Absolutely. I tell you what, I was going to call Tim tonight and say, we better have something prepared because we might be on air for about 45 minutes to an hour before that game actually faces off. And we had a nice 45-minute delay down at the the ACC tournament and on the Friday night game with Notre Dame, and we went through the scenarios of the RPI and the strength of schedule and everything because we didn't know where Syracuse was at that point down there. And after 45 minutes, we went through, and then the game came back on. And then Sunday, after we beat Duke, Tim in the postgame started. He says, "All right, let's talk about Syracuse and RPI." I said, "Let's not." I said, "We covered all that Friday night for 45 minutes." I said, "Let's just know this: we came down here on the wrong side of the bubble." And we're coming home hosting, and that's all we need to know.
I mean, we did that 4-hour rain delay once at Turf Field 1 down in Kennesaw. I think we're still on the air from that one. It was a decade ago.
I remember you and I were both exhausted when that was done.
Just totally spent. Like, what are we doing here? What is going on? All right, so, Kyle, I mean, you've seen them all here for the last, 4 decades plus of these games. And Saturday was undoubtedly, I mean, it's a fantastic game. It was a great game. Like, do you rank it up? Like, where do you rank it? Like, is it just in the mix of you've seen 8 million great games, or does this one stand out as a special one?
Well, it stands out as special because of as I said Saturday or Sunday, the magic of the JMA Dome, without question. But Tim asked me, "Have you ever seen anything like this?" And I said, "Yeah." Back in 1983 for the national championship, we were down 12-5. Or 12-7 with 5 minutes to go in the third period and we scored 10 straight goals. And believe me, to that point, Brian, we were playing poorly is the nice way to say it, okay? Pretty much like this past Sunday. And you know what? The funny thing is I had a buddy call me up and he said, Kyle, you were trying to be positive, but boy, at halftime, but boy, the tone in your voice. I said, well, you know something? I said, the Syracuse fans know if we're playing well or not. The people that go know if we're playing well or not, and we were not playing well, and that there's nothing more to say about it than that. I mean, we couldn't throw the ball from me to the wall away without turning it over, you know, I mean, and we got caught in their ride. Their ride is sensational. And I'll be honest with you, Brian, if they had a face-off man that could win 50% of the face-off,
they'd be really good.
They'd probably be the favorite to win the national championship. That team is very, very good.
Yeah, they're just missing the one extremely key part of having the ball, which John Mullen has done so well for the Orange. And, you know, Kyle was struck. I had you and Tim going on the TK app while I was cleaning up the yard on Sunday. You know, it's the fourth quarter. And once that penalty on Joey happened, right, like the crowd got up. And they didn't sit down the rest of the game. Like we know the Cuse lacrosse crowds are great, and there have been bigger crowds and all that. I don't quite remember anything like exactly that, like where the crowd got up and never once sat down for. It must have been a half an hour of real time.
Well, I'll tell you, I think what happened, Brian, is obviously they had a 5-goal lead. There was a loose ball on the ground, and the loose ball is like 15 yards from the cage. Okay. Joey Spallina is going down to pick the ball up or try to because he's, you know, surrounded. There's like 2 SU guys, 2 Harvard guys. And then Owen Guest comes in out of nowhere, one of their middies, and blatantly cross-checks him in the back of the helmet. And it's not like it slid up his shoulders or anything. He cross-checks him in the back of the helmet. And why he would even do that is absolutely beyond me with a 5-goal lead and the ball so far away from the goal. But he does that. They get a 1-minute full serve. In my opinion, it should have been a 2-minute full serve because it direct contact to the head. But 1 minute full serve, and all of a sudden, I think the crowd saw that it was kind of like a cheap shot, and they were pissed. Of course, the refs got it right, and all the people in front of us in the crowd were holding up 2 fingers, you know, for a 2-minute non-releasable, you know, and that started the booing, and that is when they did not sit down the rest of the game. And, of course, talk about, you know, I've always said this about the crowd. The crowd, Brian, does not intimidate the visiting team. It energizes the home team. And at that point, it was game on because we scored 3 goals. And actually, if you want to call it 4 goals, we scored 4 because we won after the penalty release. We won the next face-off. We had the crowd was going crazy, and we went down and cut the lead to 1. And then the same kid, about 3.5, 4 minutes later, Owen Guest, there's a shot on Jimmy McCoy, makes a fabulous save down his knees. Now the ball's loose in front of the cage, and everybody's scrumming for it. And Nick Kikamo somehow comes out of that mess with the ball in his stick, and the same kid who hit Spallina cross-checks Kikamo in the back to the ground. It was an easy call, and that gave them a 30-second. They called it a push. That gave us another man up, and we scored again to tie it. And, boy, the Dome was in full throat. And I'm telling you, Brian, you and I did a lot of games together. I've never heard it that loud in there. It was so loud that Tim actually had to turn down the crowd mic a couple times because he couldn't hear us. That's how loud it was getting down there. And that's why I gave the Saab Intelligent Player of the Game to the crowd, not to anybody else. Of course, Johnny Mullen probably deserved it at 28 out of 32 at the faceoff, but the crowd pushed and willed that team to victory out there, and it was never more evident than when they got together or they started lining up for the handshake line. Our entire bench, or players that were in single file, turned to the crowd and pointed with both hands up to the crowd like this was yours, you know, and the crowd roared again, and then they did the handshake, and boy, the crowd didn't leave for a long time. The crowd enjoyed it. And Brian, how many times have I said it? We have the greatest lacrosse fans in the country, period. And we play in the best stadium in the the country, period. And we got some of that magic on Sunday.
Yeah, that was the Dome magic certainly come back to life. I'm certain there have been like louder moments in the Dome, but consistent like volume like that for like a half hour straight. It was wild to hear down the stretch of the game. And now, we've seen Syracuse dig crazy games out. Like, I mean, they seem like you do one of those every year. So they kind of all blend together at some point. But now here you are, right? You're alive. You're into the quarters. And you're back on the same exact stage that the season ended at last year. What presents to you differently, Kyle, here this year than when they got to this stage last year?
Well, I think last year, Denver was a defensive-minded team, and they played great. Defensively against us, they played really, really good. We had a chance to tie it with about 2 minutes to go last year. Joey Spallina had an open shot, but just wrung it off the crossbar. And, but they played great. The Denver played great against us. Their defense was outstanding. And our defense played well in that game, too. But they scored one more at the end, and that's all they needed. Now it's a little bit different because Princeton is, you can sit there and say defensive-minded. They're offensive-minded.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, they have, everybody talks about the kid from Cornell, C.J. Kurst, but they got a kid by the name of Coulter McAsee, I think that you and I saw when he was a freshman, or maybe it was me and Tim, and we sat there and we said, wow, that kid's a freshman. This kid is really, really good. And he's a Wharton finalist. So, that says it all down there. And the great attack line they have with, Chad Palumbo and Nate Cabrini. And, this is a real good team. I think the one area that Syracuse may have an advantage in is the face-offs, because they're clipping in at less than 50%. And we all know Johnny Mullen is clipping in at about 66%. So, and that means a lot in the game of lacrosse, because you know as well as I do, Brian. The name of this game is possession, not turning the ball over. Getting the ball, getting good shots off, and hopefully that'll be the storyline on Saturday.
Yeah, we look at it going on right now, and I think honestly the time that Syracuse played Coulter McAsee, go figure, it was also the game where Syracuse broke Sam English's spleen, and now he's he's on Syracuse playing against them. Go figure. That'll be a big storyline on Saturday for sure. But man, you look at John Mullen, you look at some of these years. The last time, unfortunately, it's 12 years ago now, the last championship game the Orange were in, they lost it because they never had the ball after the first quarter against Duke. And you look at some other ways seasons have ended over the years, it's been face-off issues which have killed it. I don't know if John's the best guy in the country, right? But he's certainly on the short list right now. This is a guy, like, if you're going to somehow pull this off, right, Kyle, this is a guy you got to ride here for the next week and a half.
Well, the bottom line is this, Brian. The bottom line is this. We went down to the ACC tournament. We won the ACC tournament because of John Mullen. Mm-hmm. Now, I know, let me be fair, Jimmy McCool had a game against Notre Dame that I don't think they've seen with 20 saves. And then he comes back with Duke with another 10 saves like that. But John Mullen won 79% of the face-offs down at that ACC tournament. And the bottom line is, when you keep getting us the ball, we'll figure it out. And the other thing that was great about that, too, was we had a great game plan. Pat March put in a great game plan for Duke in Game 2, and he sold it to the players. And he sold it by saying that, listen, we just played Notre Dame in 90-degree heat. They stressed us right to the end. Then the rains came. We had to delay. It cooled everything down, and they had to delay. They played at night. Duke did at night when it was much cooler, and they were ahead 12-1 at the half. Mm-hmm. And the bottom line is they got to rest a lot of their guys, so we can't go up and down the field with these guys. We haven't got the energy. So we're going to play slow. We're going to get it across midfield. We're going to take time off the clock. It's not really stalling. We're going to uncharacteristically work for a great shot. That's what we want. We want the perfect shot. And I think what that proved, Brian, if nothing else, is that Syracuse can play the up-tempo game and they can play the slow-down game. And that was important. I think that is important. That pays dividends down the road. This weekend it got crazy, obviously, but this past weekend. But I think that pays dividends down the road when your team is now confident that they can play whatever style they need to play and still be successful.
Yeah, I mean, the slowdown game, you generally have to win a game like that somewhere along a path to a title, and I didn't know before the Duke game if this year's team was capable of it. You look at the team right now, what's your biggest worry heading into this weekend? I mean, we saw the turnovers, obviously, and sloppiness in the first half. Gary probably should have banged the time out there late toward the end of regulation. What pops out to you is like, all right, if Syracuse can get this under control, they'll be in good shape?
Well, I think, Brian, the bottom line is clearing the ball. I really do. I mean, I think the turnovers are an anomaly. You know, I think we were pressing a little too much there, and that'll straighten itself out. But clearing the ball, Harvard does such a great job on the ride. They made us look like a bunch of simpletons out there. That's where our turnovers came from. Because, you know, I'm not really worried about the face-off X. I mean, push comes to shove. I think Johnny is at least at 50%, if not better. And turnovers will work themselves out. But we were horrible clearing the ball. We had most of our turnovers clearing the ball. Now, for the people who are wondering what we're talking about, your goalie makes the save or you come up with a turnover in your defensive end. Clearing the ball is getting it across midfield and into your attacking end. And we couldn't do it. I mean, we just had a tough time. And credit Harvard for that, too, by the way. They got a good scheme where they take angles towards the sideline to use that sideline as another defender. Keep pushing you that way. So they're very good on the clear. And that makes sense, too. Jerry Byrne, the head coach at Harvard, was, you know, the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame for a long, long time. So that makes sense that he would have that type of scheme set up this year. So I think if Syracuse, and believe me, Brian, a lot of people say, why doesn't Syracuse work on the ride? They work on the ride all the time. I go out to practice and watch it. You know, it's just some teams execute it better than your own team in practice can. You know, and I think that's what we saw Saturday out here. So they're working on the ride again. They're working on the 10-man ride. They're working on, you know, clearing the ball against the different type of rides that you'll see. There's two kinds, really, which is the 3-3 across midfield, 3 on one side of the midfield, 3 on the other side. And then there's, of course, the 10-man ride where the goalie comes out and guards one of the attackmen. So, and the long post for Syracuse, they have the green light to shoot if they need it from down deep, and they can because Michael Grace and Billy Dwan have already proven that they can score multiple times this year on the 10-man ride.
Yeah, heck, we saw, speaking of the rest of the tournament, we saw Penn State score 2 bombs against Colgate's 10-man ride over the weekend. What'd you make of the opening round at large? Cornell threw pretty cleanly. Maryland threw cleanly. Obviously, Princeton threw cleanly. They were the top 3 seeds. We saw Notre Dame just absolutely wreck Ohio State, which was a bit surprising. Wow. Yeah, that popped out to me the most. I don't know what popped out to you.
I'll tell you what, that popped out to me, but then again, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, Ohio State wins the regular season Big Ten, the Big Ten tournament, and our what's our reward? We get the 2-time defending national champion to open up the tournament with. And I'll tell you what, after Notre Dame, Kevin Corrigan made a comment after we beat him, said, "I've never seen us play that soft before." And I thought to myself, after he said that, and this was in the postgame, I said, boy, it's going to suck to be at a Notre Dame cross practice this next week like that, you know, because Kevin's a fiery guy without question. So anyway, but the one that stuck out to me, it didn't really stick out. I expected it. I don't think I expected them to win, but I expected it to be a 1-goal game. Was Richmond against North Carolina?
Yeah.
I mean, Richmond lost 3 games this year in the top 10 by 1 goal. All right? I mean, we're talking about a team that could be in the top 5. That's the game. That's the game. It goes one way or the other. But had it gone the other way, Richmond would have been like a top seed this year. Richmond's got a good team. Dan Shamati, who's a local kid here, West Genesee former player from years ago, he's done a great job down there coaching that team. And quite honestly, I think North Carolina, I think Owen Duffy's their star attackman, he's one of their star attackmen, is banged up more than they're saying down there. I think he's beat up a lot more. He didn't do much against us. He did nothing against Duke. And, of course, I didn't see that game, but because the ESPN, I guess, had technical difficulties. But anyway, Richmond's real. Make no mistake about it. I'll say this, Brian. I think any one of these 8 teams could win the national championship. I really do. I mean, you could make a case. All have flaws, all have strengths, but you could make a case. I think Cornell is definitely the favorite, but I think any of these teams could win the national championship.
Looking forward to it. Quarterfinals this weekend. Hofstra Saturday, Annapolis Sunday, Final Four next weekend. Memorial Day weekend, of course, in New England.
Right. And let me just say one thing that was written in Inside Lacrosse this past yesterday, Monday.
Okay.
By Terry Foy, the publisher. Insinuating that to come to Syracuse, you got to play against a great Syracuse team, a vocal crowd, and upstate New York officiating. That, to me, is so far out of line, it's not even funny. By a guy who publishes Inside Lacrosse, the magazine and the website. Now, listen, there's nobody that's tougher on officials than I am. Nobody.
No, that's a fact.
Officials don't win and lose 2 games. And the officiating in upstate New York, Baltimore, Maryland, Long Island is outstanding. This is one of the toughest sports to officiate in the country, if not the toughest sport to officiate. And yes, there are missed calls. And I usually point that out, as you well know. I said, but to sit there and insinuate that the reason Syracuse won had something to do with many factors, but one of them upstate officiating is way out of line by Terry Foy, the publisher of Inside Lacrosse.
Mm-hmm. Terry Foy, friend of the show. Kyle Federley, friend of the show. At odds. We'll see if we can sort that out between you guys. I didn't see that from Terry. I'll have to look that up. All right, Kyle. Well, I know you'll call out the refs for something on Saturday. That's just the way it goes in the quarterfinal.
Hopefully, I'm calling a lot of goals out.
Hopefully. You never know what's going to go on this weekend. Always a crazy one. All right, enjoy Long Island. We'll be listening. We'll talk soon.
All right, take care.
All right, there he is, our guy Kyle Federley. I don't know what Terry Foy said. I didn't see that one. We'll have to look it up. Yes. With that, we'll step aside for a few here in this hour. Brought to you by William Mattar. Phone lines open next little bit. 315-437-7644. Matt Vincenzi, Sports Illustrated PGA Championship preview in hour 2. Back after this here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. How is Matty Palem as a lax official? He is universally regarded as the best. And yes, he does not do Syracuse games. What did my guy Terry Foy say? But yes, they've been.
I wasn't looking at it.
It's all they've been talking about.
Bounced it and it just didn't come back up. I was in the middle of on my way here listening to a tantalizing video biography on Hershey chocolate.
Okay,
it's pretty interesting
on
stuff.
The Hershey family.
I forgot his name, but the guy who started Hershey chocolate.
I'm assuming his last name was Hershey?
Yeah, which was really confusing. Did they change the name of his hometown to Hershey?
That's what I'm assuming.
Because I'm like, man, if this guy's Hershey from Hershey, we got more to talk about.
Either
in this
that
story.
or they already had a full grasp of the town.
That's what I was wondering, and they didn't mention that.
How was Hershey, Pennsylvania named?
I'm assuming it was just a flaw in the video, because like 3/4 of the way, he's like, and then he retired to his hometown of Hershey, but then doesn't mention anything else about it. I was like, they had to have changed the name,
Hershey
right?
met the woman who would become his wife, Catherine, often referred to as Kitty, and Milton were married in New York City in 1898. As his company grew, Hershey chose to build a model community where his employees could happily live, work, and play. That town was later named Hershey in honor of his founder. Okay, so
because they mentioned that town, but they mentioned a different name beforehand. But it was now Hershey.
Not in
he also
this
tried
paragraph.
to. He did well. He didn't try. He succeeded doing the same thing in Cuba, but it was a sugar plantation. Where that way he could get his own
have the sugar for the chocolate.
Exactly.
But then Cuba went a different direction.
Yeah.
That's probably not where they get their sugar.
Yeah,
that probably.
But that farm he made that's now Hershey, that was where he got the milk. So all he needed was the vanilla. I don't know where he was, but I mean,
what about the cocoa? The cocoa bean,
the cacao.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You need the chocolate.
They didn't mention where he got that.
That's not coming out of cows.
Well, when he first made the plantation, I'm sorry, not the plantation. When he first made the farm for the milk, they were only doing strictly caramel, and that was just vanilla, sugar, and milk.
So Hershey didn't start with chocolate?
No.
What?
It's
I
good
feel
stuff.
you buried the lead here, Mike.
It's good stuff.
You have buried the lead.
It was all about caramel, and then they realized
Milt Hershey.
Yeah, they realized that the caramel, they were kind of losing the grasp.
Yes,
of
it does very much sound like a Pullman town, Tronic.
And they're like, you know what? We're just gonna go on to milk chocolate because nobody except for the Swiss had a way of making milk chocolate whole.
You know who's good at making
wholesales.
chocolate?
The Swiss.
The Swiss. Yeah. They're excellent at it. Yeah.
And a guy who used to work at his caramel factory.
Was Swiss?
No.
Oh.
But they were doing the caramel.
German?
They started doing chocolate. I don't know. They didn't mention.
There's a lot of Germans
doing milk
in Pennsylvania.
chocolate.
The Dutch?
They're probably German, I feel like. Dutch is pretty big in the
Yeah, I'm just naming people that live in Pennsylvania.
The Quakers, right? Weren't they Dutch? I think.
The Quakers originally? I think the Quakers were originally like English.
Were they?
Weren't they?
Maybe. I don't know. You're the one saying it. But so they started doing milk chocolate. After they sold the caramel business, he actually brought in
What about the Belgians?
From the caramel.
Cat wants to know about the Belgians.
And he was the one who actually figured out how to make milk chocolate. It was because they didn't use powdered milk. They used, what's the different kinds of milk? Just start rattling them off. I'll get it. Yes, that's the one. Different kinds of milk. Not powdered milk.
Regular milk.
No, they do something to it, like they steam it, but it's
steamed milk.
I don't know, something like that.
They steam.
I like how I'm vague.
Concentrated milk.
Yes, that's what I think. It was concentrated. I think it was I don't know. I don't remember enough though. I'm giving you like bits and pieces of this.
Yeah, this is like a fever dream.
But I just watched it I didn't really watch it. I was driving. I listened to it like an hour and a half ago.
There was probably a lot of graphics on the screen that you couldn't see that explained all of this.
And Cicero was really just kicking my butt, man. The one
steamed hams.
Steamed hams.
Are you telling me that there's an Aurora Borealis in your kitchen?
CNY. It's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
Oh, man. We could have just kept Kyle on until 6 and called it a day, but we'll keep it moving. 315-437-7644. Phone lines open. Talk a little golf with Matt Vincenzi next hour. The second major of the calendar year, the PGA Championships from Quail Hollow in Charlotte, home of where Syracuse just won the ACC Lacrosse Championship. We'll have full coverage from Westwood 1 Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That be the remainder of the week. But right now, let's go to the phones. And who do we got up next? We got our guy Stefan in Utica. Stefan, hello.
Well, hello, Brian. Now, how about that comeback win for Syracuse men's lacrosse in overtime against Harvard?
Absolutely fantastic, Stefan. That was one of the highly enjoyable lacrosse watches that we get. That was a fantastic game on Sunday.
Yes, and you think they can do it, win against their next opponent and keep it up and go into the Final Four?
I think they can, Stefan, but I also think Princeton is really, really good, and this is going to be a tough test. I think realistically, what we're in for on Saturday is more of the same, that we're probably going to be watching at about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it's going to be a tie game, a one-goal game, and we'll figure out how it ends. But I think we're going to have a really tight one Saturday, Cuse and Princeton, and flip a coin. We'll see who ends up in the Final Four.
Well, thank you, Brian, and go Cuse Lacrosse.
Thank you, Stefan, our guy Stefan in Utica, and indeed, go Cuse Lacrosse. And we'll see. 12 years since the last Final Four, 16 since the last national championship, and who waits? Princeton. It's been a minute since 2003 since Syracuse and Princeton have faced off in a playoff game, and before that, it was just like every single year. 2003, they played in the quarter. Syracuse won. 3 straight years, 2000, 2001, 2002. 3 straight years, that was the national championship game. The Orange winning Ryan Powell's last game, 2000, winning in 2002. 2001, freshman Mike Powell Took Damian Davis, the best defender of the country, straight to the rack to send it to overtime before Princeton eventually won it. Like they played every freaking year in the playoffs. Every year they played in the playoffs. It was a decade straight. I think it was at least 10 years in a row. It might have been longer. That Princeton's season either ended with a national championship or a loss to Syracuse. And that's it. National championship loss to Syracuse. Syracuse lost to some other teams besides Princeton in there, but that's how big that rivalry was. It's wild. That's more than 20 years ago now. With that, we'll step aside. Hour 2 when we come back. More of your calls through on 5437-7644. Matt Vincenzi talking PGA Championship quarter of an hour from now. Back after this, Q Sports Talk, ESPN Radio. Stefan? Yeah, no idea what Stefan from Utica looks like. What did I say angrily, Mike? 76? Oh, in the phone number. Well, it's just, it's not the 4-4s. Mike? Now I want some chocolate. Tatum ruptured his Achilles? That's not good. Yeah, the style of game should fit into Syracuse. I mean, Princeton and Syracuse both like to get up and get moving. It should, like if both teams play like they normally play, it's going to be a run and gun game. We'll just see if anyone gets like tamped down a bit due to the the pressure of the quarters. But yeah, McAsee's really good. Oh, man. First to 40, win by 2. Pat is a one-issue caller. Pat's in it for the hoops. Pat called. When's the last time Pat called LA Orange? He called sometime during when portal stuff was happening. Yeah, I don't know, a month ago maybe. He seemed reasonably pleased. I know, Mike. How will they go on? It's almost like those events are not the only way to be in contact with recruits anymore. Devo? I don't know, Oregon Cuse. Oh, Mike, what an angle you've just taken. Oh, my goodness. Don't tell a ton that. That is funny, though. You are just causing trouble, Mr. McAllister.
All across CNY, it's the 315 with Brian Higgins. Halfway home, we drive into the second hour with Burdick BMW.
That we do. Hour 2 afoot. Phone lines open still for the next few. 315-437-7644 if you'd like to join in on this Tuesday. Our guy Matt Vincenzi, a little golf talk. Second major of the year upcoming. I still don't like the PGA being in May. I liked it being in August. But whatever. It is in May. It is a major, and we'll talk to Matt coming up in about 10 minutes. Get some picks. Who does he like? Rory? Grand Slam? Talk to Matt coming up in about 10. Full coverage of the PGA Championships later this week. Courtesy of Westwood One. Broadcast starting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I know that's their start time Thursday and Friday. I don't know if they start earlier on the weekend or not. But full coverage until the final ball rolls in the hole on Sunday here on ESPN Radio from Westwood One. Teaser of the show tomorrow. We'll be joined 4:30 tomorrow by our guy Alan Griffin, who earlier today was officially named head coach of Boeheim's Army for this season. So he becomes the fourth guy to head coach Boeheim's Army over the years, taking over for Ryan Blackwell. Jeremy Pope, the only non-Cuse guy, was the coach when they won the whole thing 4 years ago. Lawrence Moten was the coach the first 2 years. He was like a player coach. Back in the first few years, it was all kind of crazy going on. But Lawrence coached early, Ryan Blackwell, then Pope, then Blackwell again. And this is interesting for a variety of reasons. Griff talked to Donna DeTota earlier today, so some of his thoughts are out there already. And again, we'll have Griff. I think Griff's going to pop by the studio. We'll have him tomorrow on the program. So there is and we'll ask Griff about this tomorrow. There's a direct collision of the TBT and some of the major summer recruiting tournaments. The TBT dates, the first game is July 18th. There is a major evaluation period in the summer, July 17th through July 20th, during Nike Peach Jam, the Under Armour Championship, and other stuff going on in the summer. But obviously, Griff didn't go rogue and just take this job. Red signed off on it. And the rules being the rules now in recruiting, you're allowed to have X number of people on the road at the time. So Alex Klein will be able to go. Pete Corsiniti, the director of operations, will be able to go on the road recruiting. And I'll just be intrigued to ask Griff tomorrow, among talking about Boeheim's Army stuff, like in years gone by, like these tournaments, like this time in the summer was like the most important time in recruiting. I remember this would have been TBT like 2019, something like that, when Jerry was still on staff as an assistant, and I got to talk into Jerry before one of these games or on the air or whatever, and asked him, just because we were all I was not asking him about coaching the team. I asked Jerry, like, not are you going to play? I knew the answer. Like, Jerry was never going to play in the thing, but man, he could still shoot it, and we all wanted to see Jerry and whatever. I asked him, would he be allowed to play in it? NCAA rules, his role as an assistant coach, etc. And he said, I think I'd be allowed, but timetable, it's up against all this recruiting stuff. So, like, timing-wise, I wouldn't be able to. But since then, transfer portal, NIL, like the whole darn recruiting landscape has changed since I had that conversation with Jerry, which had to be 5-6 years ago. I'm guessing 2019. I think this was a pre-COVID situation. That's why I keep bringing up randomly that year. So I'll be intrigued to ask Griff about that aspect of things tomorrow. Then there's the other thing. All right, Griff's going to be the head coach. Griff's never been a head coach. It's a little different. You know, you're coaching somewhere between 1 and 6 games. It's a whole different thing. You're coaching some Syracuse alums. Currently, they got Elijah Hughes, both Boeheim brothers, Rakeem Christmas, Chris McCullough. We'll see who else gets added to the roster. And Jim Boeheim was on Orange Nation last week, yesterday. When was it? I don't know. So last week, and said something to the effect of there'll be some non-Cuse guys in there. How much does the head coach get to do? What can this do for Griff? So I think that'll be interesting to see the various different perspectives of some of these things before, like, you know, the Elam ending, different aspects of it. What this is going to be like for Griff getting out of the assistant role, being the head coach. See if we can get Griff to spill any secrets about who's going to be on the team or on his staff or whatever. Yeah, we're coming for you, Griff. See what we can get out of him tomorrow. But yeah, we'll ask Griff all that stuff on the show tomorrow. 4:30, we'll be joined by Alan Griffin to talk Boeheim's Army and basically the effect on this and its effect on Syracuse basketball and how all of that ties together. So looking forward to that with our guy Griff tomorrow. With that, we will step aside for a few. When we come back, we'll talk a little golf. PGA Championship ball on the tee, Quail Hollow, North Carolina. Quail Hollow is the golf course. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina. The tournament starts on Thursday. Matt Vincenzi, who covers golf and makes the picks for Sports Illustrated, will join us next here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. It depends on the price, L.A. Orange. Yeah, he's probably coached something like that before. You're right, L.A. Orange. Yes, have we offered Weitzman a show? Yeah, he's gonna go overnights. Adam Weitzman After Dark. Yeah, I got to see what kind of stuff Griff's offering. Like what kind of NIL is Weitzman ponying up for me to be on this staff? Like I might be able to free up some time for the right arrangements. Yeah, McAllister, you drop some Fran Brown nuggets or portal nuggets. You're just here stirring up trouble. Yes, I'm available for the right cost. That goes for the other teams that will be playing in Syracuse. Yeah, McAllister's going to get double teed and tossed before the opening tip. I saw that, Phil. Brutal. Boeheim's Army has won the TBT in 2025, and assistant coach Mike McAllister got ejected in the first quarter of all 6 games. Just secretly scouting. Give me the glasses that record. It'll just be recording the other games when it's you're perfectly allowed to just go watch them. No, that would be entertaining. I think that could be a good bit. McAllister just getting tossed from every TBT game. You just get into it with the refs and like a pregame handshake. You watch it, Stripes. You call it straight. What's that? Beep. That's when the jacket comes off and the chair goes. Mike's gone. That's more of a baseball ejection, but McAllister has been tossed. It's his record 5th consecutive ejection in the TBT. Remember when Devo got teed up in the TBT that time? That was great. Who was it? Was it Fabulous and a Boogie with a Hoodie? Who was with a Boogie with a Hoodie? Yeah, like that was the last one, Q's Vegas, when the weed-smelling rappers and the recruit showed up courtside. I don't think the Chancellor liked that very much. Yeah, it was Choppa, a Boogie with a Hoodie. Was it Fabulous? Was he the other guy? Paulie's still high.
The 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
Alrighty, back at it here on a Tuesday. 2 days out now from the PGA Championship. Westwood One's full coverage of the PGA coming up later this week at 2 o'clock. They'll be starting their broadcast on Thursday and Friday. No shows for us Thursday and Friday. We'll be watching along, listening along with the golf. Always great to bring on our next guest to get a preview of the majors. He's Matt Vincenzi of Sports Illustrated. Matt, thanks for hopping on. Always great to chat.
Yeah, happy to be on.
All right, so we last talked before the Masters, and it was... And I think the conversation's going to be the same, right? There was a lot of Rory, Bryson talk, and Scotty Scheffler, too, before the Masters. It feels like, especially with Rory and Bryson, right, we're getting set to have a similar conversation here this week.
Yeah, for sure. I believe at that time I said Rory was the guy to beat, not Scotty, and he should have been the favorite, and he kind of showed that. And I feel a similar way this week, but this week I feel like Bryson is the most likely to win.
Very different golf course, right? Here we talk every year like Augusta's a second shot golf course. This golf course in Quail Hollow down in Charlotte, this is, you got to bomb it straight, right? Like how punitive is this course if you are not hitting it long and finding fairways?
Yeah, big boy golf course. I mean, the softness early in the week might have an impact where the shorter hitters can compete a bit because they'll be able to land these long irons on the green where typically they won't be able to because of the firmness. But Quail does have a sub-air system, so I do expect it to firm up over the weekend. And players who are coming in with a shorter iron will have a big advantage being able to put shots closer to the hole. So Rory, Bryson, these guys who are long off the tee and straight off the tee. And I tweeted about this earlier. Bryson, the season he's having right now with the driver is the best in the strokes gain era, which goes back to 2003. And it might be one of the best driving seasons of all time.
Wow. So that would be in play here in a big way. Obviously, Rory has done really well on this course over the years. He's won there 4 times at the regular PGA Tour stop that goes through Quail Hollow. How much does that factor into your thinking this week that Rory has done so well here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely an advantage, and there's a reason why. I mean, Rory is one of the most talented drivers of the golf ball of this generation, and that's why he's done so well here. And if we looked at courses where Rory's played well, I mean, we've seen Bryson go toe-to-toe with Rory in 2 of the last 3 majors. I think it makes sense that they play well in similar courses. They're both long and straight with the driver, and that's their best skill set. So I do think it will help a bit. I know JT won here back in 2017. that's the one I wouldn't really put as much stock into, because with the August PGA Championship, it was much firmer, drier, different conditions. Even the grass was different. They used Bermuda grass in August, and now they have Poa Trivialis overseed. So it'll be a different golf course than it was in 2017.
Yeah, how has the PGA, how has this championship changed since it's gone to the spring? There's now like enough evidence, right? You can sort that out. How different is how the PGA plays in general in May versus in August?
It plays longer, right? It's almost morphed into a U.S. Open of sorts, because, you know, this season you're not going to get the grass is dry and the ball's not going to run it as far. If you look at the 2017 PGA at Quail, you had JT won, but then you had Kevin Kisner was the runner-up, and he's one of the shortest hitters on tour. I think that's going to be completely different this time. I think distance is not only luxury this week. I think it's a requirement.
Does JT have the distance? I mean, Justin Thomas is probably playing his best golf here. I mean, he won a few weeks ago, right? He's playing his best golf in a long time. Can a guy like him be in the mix this week?
Yeah, he's playing great. I would argue he's the third best player on the PGA Tour right now with how he's playing after Rory and Scotty. He does have the distance. He's actually gained a bunch of speed in the offseason, which is why I was really high on him going into this year. He was kind of my candidate to be the player of the year. Looks like Rory would probably do that. But the one thing he in gaining that speed and distance, he's lost some accuracy. He's not as accurate as even Bryson is with the driver right now. So he can get it out there, but he's spraying it a bit. And we saw that Sunday at the Truist last week where he kind of lost some drives, and it cost him.
Yeah, I guess that's a trade-off you make, right? If you're trying to add some distance, you may lose a little consistency on where it's going. We got Matt Vincenzi from Sports Illustrated. PGA Championship down in North Carolina starts on Thursday at Quail Hollow. All right, Scotty Scheffler a couple weeks ago had like one of the all-time scoring performances. We'll remember his PGA last year forever because, you know, he got arrested on the way to the first round. I assume that's not going to happen this year. But where's Scotty at right now compared to, you know, where he was at a year ago?
I think he's playing great. He's kind of rounding into form. I know the win, I think it has everyone ready to dive back into thinking this is going to be this historic thing like it was last year. I'm not convinced on that. I think that golf course at the Byron Nelson, one, it's in Texas, and it's in McKinney, Texas, which was his hometown. He's really comfortable playing there. He's great in Texas, and it's relatively the easiest golf course they're going to play all year long. So I don't think we need to read all that much into it, besides it's a great golfer on a course he loves and a region he loves, and he played great. But, you know, Scotty still hasn't won a major outside of Augusta National. So in order to be considered the great that a lot of people want to put him in the category of, I want to see him do that.
Yeah, it's the two green jackets are great, but right, you got to start stacking a few of the others to see where we're at. Let me ask you a few of the other guys, some live guys here. We talk about Bryson, but where's John Rahm at right now? Where's his game at right now?
I don't think it's back to where it needs to be quite yet. I think he's shown flashes of it. I think at times he's been at his best, but I don't think he's done that consistently. I think at his best he should be winning multiple times on LIV. He hasn't done that this season. Yeah, he has that top 10 streak, but what does that mean in a smaller field? It's somewhat impressive, but that's not the Rahm that I think he can be. He, in my opinion, before he left for LIV, was the best player in the world. And right now he isn't. So, you know, is he still a top 5, top 7 player? I think so. But until he gets it all figured out, he's driving the ball great again. The putter he was a great putter when he was on the PGA Tour a few years ago. So I think he needs to get that entire game dialed in before he wins a major. And I think he's a great, great fit for Royal Portrush. He's won at the Irish Open twice, at La Hinch. So I think it's going to be a great fit for him if he can get informed by the Open Championship. But this week, I'm not too high on him.
All right, so he's got a couple of months to get it sorted out for that. How about Koepka? I mean, Brooks is a guy we know plays well at this tournament, right? He's won it 3 times at this point. So where is Brooks' game right now?
It's not good, really. He been bad in 3 of the last 4 majors, really bad. And with Brooks, we see it coming. So when he won the PGA in 2023, the week before, the 2 turns before, he finished 2nd and 5th. And then when he was 2nd at the Masters to Rahm in 2023, he won LIV Orlando the week before. So he usually tells us when it's coming, and those finishes just aren't that great. He's putting horrifically all year long. He can't get the putter figured out. Honestly, looks like he's gained a couple pounds. I don't know if right now he's ready. It doesn't mean he never will be again, but I don't see it this week either.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He's one, like, when it gets going for him, it gets all the way going, but when it's not, it is not. So we'll stay away from Koepka this week. How about Patrick Reed? He played well here. You know, he's a guy that's played well on this course before. You talk about it was very different in 2017, but he was in the mix in that tournament, right, with Justin Thomas. Is he a guy whose game is up to it right now?
Yeah, he's playing pretty good. I'm not completely sold that he can actually, win this event. He's, a great putter. He said he's played well here in the past. He got paired with Jordan Spieth, which is a really interesting pairing for the first 2 days of the tournament. So yeah, his former best friend, now enemy. He's an interesting guy to watch this week. Do I think he can win? Probably not. But I think, at the odds, he was open to 190 to 1. I think it's kind of a fun little chance to take.
All right, Spieth was the next guy I was going to ask you about. I mean, we just saw at the most recent major somebody complete the career Grand Slam, and that was, we talked about that for a decade, quite literally. The Spieth being the PGA away from a career Grand Slam, it hasn't been talked about nearly as much as Rory, but I think that's because he hasn't really come close to it here the last few years. Where is Jordan, and where is his game versus the PGA Championship this week?
It's just he's just not as good as Rory, and he's not that good in general right now. I mean, he's okay. I don't see him having the ability to win on this golf course. I do think he may have a crack at the career Grand Slam, but that's going to come in 2027 at PGA Frisco in Texas. We've seen he's a much better player in Texas. He was fourth a few weeks ago in the event that Scotty won at the Byron Nelson. But other than that, he really hasn't contended once all season long. And he's kind of a course for course type of guy, and this isn't one of his courses.
Go figure. I mean, we're closing on a decade now since those slams he won when he was ripping them off back when he was just getting started. We got Matt Vincenzi with us from Sports Illustrated. All right, give us a few dark horse guys to watch this week. Who are you looking a little bit further down the board that you think can fare well here?
I like Joaquin Niemann. I know some people are getting fatigue of his inability to contend in major championships and then go and win all these live events. I completely understand that, but I think we're being a little harsh in judging him too early. Yes, he's played in a lot of majors, but he's only 26 years old. He's 10 months older than Ludwig Oberg, who we seem to want to give a lot of time to, and he's played majors, played well in majors, to be fair. But I think we have a lot of times before we can know who Niemann is as a major player. I think talent-wise, he's a top 10 player in the world. Data Golf has him at number 9. He's 40 to 1 this week. And this should be a great golf course for him because he's one of the longest players in the world. He's a great long iron player. I think he shows up for the first time in a major.
Okay, so that's a guy to watch out for. Yeah, he's been killing it on the LIV Tour. Is Niemann your guy this week? When push comes to shove, who do you think wins this tournament this week?
It's Bryson. I think I'd be honestly incredibly surprised if Bryson was not in one of the last few groups on Sunday going for a win. I think it's such a perfect golf course for him. In the last 5 major championships from the start of 2024, the only player to have gained more strokes in majors than him is Xander Schauffele, who won 2 of them. He's just been an incredible major performer. Showed up again at the Masters, which I still don't think is a great tournament for him, but he's just finding a way to compete. It's almost like the Brooks Koepka 2017, 2018. Like if there's a major, he's going to be involved. And now one that favors the driver more than anything, I just don't see a world in which he's not deep into contention, and I honestly believe he wins.
Okay. How much does it play into, like, yeah, he fell apart a little bit down the stretch at the Masters, but like he played great, right, his next 2 tournaments out on LIV. How much confidence does that give you that he took that Masters disappointment and like bounced back immediately from that?
Oh, a bunch. And I think that the fact that he was even involved in the Masters speaks a lot to how well he's playing, because I just don't think it's a great course for him. The distance control he had trouble with, overspinning wedges, flying the green. I just think it's a tough iron course for him to play because it's such a second shot golf course, and that's not the strength of his game. And then now you go to a course that suits him a lot better. I think he's completely set up to do well. And then he gained strokes on approach in his last win in Korea. And people say it's LIV. What can you really take from that? But my answer to that would be he was losing strokes prior to the Masters on approach, and the irons weren't good at the Masters. Now he's gaining strokes again on LIV. He won LIV Korea. So I think now he has all parts of his game dialed in.
Certainly would be a very popular champion if he can pull it off this week down in North Carolina. All right, Matt, always good to chat when we got the golf majors coming around. Thanks for hopping on for a few today.
Thank you.
There is our guy, Matt Vincenzi, Sports Illustrated. Great article by Matt out right now detailing all the picks and odds and everything for the Masters. And an absolutely just stacked field. We'll see if Rory can keep it going. Bryson, Scheffler had a massive tournament a couple weeks ago. The stars of the sport all playing very well as we head toward the major that we will have full coverage from on Westwood One starting on Thursday at 2 o'clock. With that, we will step aside for a few. When we come back, we'll get Mike in here. We'll do a little 4-on-1. We'll do that next. It's Q Sports Talk. It is ESPN Radio.
This
Well, Paul, if you're still there, we'll ask Griff all that tomorrow. We'll ask Griff all that tomorrow. It's Mike. That says 70 plus 1. Yes.
Did you hear Jordan goes, this would be a crazy way to tell everybody you're pregnant.
That would be crazy. That would be crazy. We've been having a lot of cake around here recently.
I haven't.
No,
I haven't.
I think there might have still been some on the table. This was a smaller cake than last week's cake.
Oh, is the cake from today?
Yeah, well, we had a May birthday cake.
Oh, a May birthday cake.
Well, yes, other people.
Jim tried doing that once. It didn't go over very well.
Yeah.
Michael made that mistake when he was new, but
That's true. It is Lisa's birthday today, but other people have either recently had a birthday or just about to have a birthday. It's not a June birthday cake, so Paulie was not included in the cake.
Paulie a June birthday boy?
He is. His birthday is a month and 2 days from now.
Oh, did he recently tell you that, or do you just remember that?
We were talking about the cake yesterday. If we were wondering if Paulie was included in the cake.
And he wasn't.
No.
Not this month.
It was a very good cake, though. It was like this strawberry cake with a whipped creamy thing going. It was a.
So did we just randomly decide? You know what? We're gonna have a month birthday cake this month.
We don't do it like other months. I don't know. Last week we had like a baby shower cake.
My birthday was 2 months ago, and I think 3 people wished me happy birthday, and they all are the ESPN people.
And I did not get you a cake.
You did not. It's actually why I'm finding new employment.
Sorry about that. I don't know if they're going to give you a cake either. It's a remote job.
If they did, though,
if they get you a cake, though,
I
that's
feel really appreciated.
That would be really impressive if they get you a cake.
What's this? Cake. It's 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah. It's like, But then you'd be like, you know what? I like cake.
I do like it. Some would say that cold cake's probably the best cold food to have. Which crazy, honestly, if you think about it, that was a joke. But if you think about it, cake, you make it warm and then it's just cold after that, but it tastes just as good.
Yeah. I mean, eating a cake warm would be.
You never had a freshly cooked cake before?
I mean, you take the cake out of the oven and cut it immediately? That is wild behavior.
I mean, I don't know.
You got to let it cool to frost it.
True.
Yeah.
True, you do have to let it frost. True, that's a good point.
If you're taking a cake out of the oven and going to town, you're a wild man.
I mean, if you got frosting on deck,
but if you put cold frosting on a hot cake, it's gonna melt all over the place.
But it's like putting mayonnaise on a sandwich. You just lather it on at the last second, and then just eat it.
So
I feel like that'd be good.
Mike should open a restaurant hot cakes made to order, just running them out. No, it's too late.
It's gonna be
it's gone bad.
It's gonna be a conveyor belt. I just got
you
one
waited
person
too long. You should have eaten it.
Lathering up ice cream frosting on freshly did cakes.
Oh man,
one bite cakes.
In your spare time, you can do that.
I'm not a big regular cake fan though. I'm more of an ice cream cake, and those you gotta eat cold.
You do. Though they do tell you to take them out of the freezer and let them for a half hour before you're ready to serve. Yeah. It's right on the box.
I can see that.
Yeah. Well, it's really hard
What
to
about-
cut if it's totally frozen.
What about the edible cookie dough? That stuff. Oh, that slaps.
It's not as good as the crunchies in the ice cream cake, though.
I agree.
The crunchies in the I don't know what they're
That's
doing with
next
that stuff.
level. Yeah.
I don't know what they're putting in those.
No, I totally
It's probably
agree.
drugs. I mean, it has to
I'm
be.
okay with it.
Yeah, it's just like that stuff is fantastic.
Just keep the meth and cocaine out. I'll be good. You know what they didn't say that for when they made Coca-Cola?
No.
They were like, put
They
more.
said directly the opposite. They're like, we have put cocaine in this.
Coca-Cola was originally a medicinal drink.
Because of the cocaine.
Because of the cocaine.
Like, we feel great.
All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
Here we are. Tuesday. Glad to have you with us here. We've talked some lax, talked some hoops, we've talked some golf. Now we'll see what Mike wants to talk about.
Here's the 411.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Phone.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
In the 315.
So you're going to be doing that all week, right?
Nah.
What's going on? This is the 411 brought to you by Superior Plus Propane. Mike is here.
Hello.
What's going on?
A lot today, actually. A lot of this and a lot of that from all over the sports world.
Should we start with this or that?
I was thinking we should start with this, and
Okay.
that's the fact. I should have said that, because then I could have rhymed.
Sort of.
Dang it. Gosh, you know what? Let's just cancel it.
Should
No, I'm
I
just
just play the open again?
yeah, run it from the top. No, but Shoeless Joe Jackson, that's what we all want to know.
Yes.
Is no longer banned from the MLB, but
Nor is Pete Rose.
That's probably the biggest news, Pete Rose, but not for me. I love Shoeless
You're
Joe
a big
Jackson.
Shoeless Joe Jackson guy?
Yeah, ironically, I am, actually. I love Shoeless Joe Jackson.
You're all up on the 1919 White Sox?
Yeah, he was innocent, and now we know, okay? Well, not really, because he got unbanned because he's dead, and that's literally the only reason.
Yes. His name has not been cleared in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
He did a very bad job throwing that World Series.
He
'cause
did
hit
a very bad job.
380 or
Yeah,
something. But
me and Jordan were talking about that earlier today, and he was like, well, he should have been banned. And I said, no, he was one of the best averages in the World Series that year. But nonetheless,
those other guys threw the crap out of it,
they
though.
did, and they made a lot of money for then, which isn't now, because like $10,000 now is nothing compared to what it was then.
Depends how their investments went. The problem, though, is that between then and now, the Great Depression. So they might have gone poorly right in the middle.
That's very true.
Like,
man,
really
what a bad
bad, right
year
in the-
to throw the World Series,
Yeah.
man. If only they knew what was coming. They should have done it in like the 30s.
Well, still in the
Like mid-30s.
they could have really enjoyed the Roaring 20s. They
True.
probably roared.
They roared a lot of
Yeah.
that. They roared their way right through the 20s.
Yeah, and then, after that, it's lost to history.
You throw one World Series, have 10 years of greatness
Yeah.
afterwards, I get it.
One could argue they set up a very exciting decade.
Jordan brought up a really good point, though. If Shoeless Joe Jackson was good as everyone said he was, he probably could have been hitting 450,
Oh,
maybe he was selling.
Him hitting 380 was throwing the World Series. All right. I'll be interested to see. So now, like Shoeless Joe, Pete Rose, I guess others are technically not banned, which in theory would make them eligible for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And
I don't know what's going to happen with that.
Rob Manfred said that they ruled that the MLB's punishment of banned individuals ends upon their death. And a quote here is, obviously a person no longer with us cannot represent a threat to the integrity of the game.
That's what they think.
Which is like crazy.
You don't know what Pete Rose is going to do from beyond the grave.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, what could Pete Rose do the last 15 years that really destroyed the game? Like, come on now. That's ridiculous.
Man. When did Pete die? He died September 30th, so about 6 months ago, right? A little more than that. I've said this all along. The same thing I think about Pete or whatever Shoeless Joe or any of the steroid guys. Put them in the Hall of Fame if they were deserving as ball players, which Pete Rose clearly was. Shoeless Joe Jackson clearly was. And just write on the plaque what happened.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Put Barry Bonds in, right on the plaque what happened.
I don't agree with that. Just put Barry in, all right? No one cares that he was juiced up, all right?
Put
Everybody
Roger
loved
Clemens in, write it on the plaque.
Yeah.
Put Manny in, put it on the plaque.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm not a baseball guy, so I don't really have a lot of room to talk, but it seems like with decisions like this, like MLB is just so worried about like how everybody views them.
I wonder why they
like,
did that. What I haven't seen at all anywhere is like, why did they do this today?
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
It just seems a very random timing to do this.
And the whole, like, after people die, they can't be banned anymore seems exactly... It just seems like they were like, all right, we want to let Pete in, but we don't want to admit we were wrong, so let's just let everybody who's died in.
Or if they really...
Or have an opportunity.
Because Pete Rose, like, he always wanted to get into the Hall of Fame while he was alive, so he could be alive for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they were really looking to stick it to Pete, they should have announced it, like, the day after he died.
Oh, that
like,
would have
just
been
really,
crazy.
just gone hard on it if you're going to do it.
Oh, that would have been crazy.
Take that, dead Pete Rose.
I wouldn't have been here for it, but I would have loved to see it happen. That would have been a crazy day in the sports world. Everybody would have been talking about it for quite a while. But also, we're going to move a little bit over to basketball for a second because we got a couple things to talk about in the NBA, and that is the fact that the Mavs get the number 1 pick with a less than 2% chance of
Or did
getting.
they?
Yeah, okay. Nico Collins, man, luckiest man in America last night. Okay, that saved his job with the Mavs, in my opinion, because it's ludicrous how well this is going to work out for the Mavs. Because although Luka's a 1, he really plays a lot of 2-3 scenarios, and that's exactly where Cooper Flag can fit in. I mean, he fits with this roster really well for what they need, and it's so lucky that it's going to work out for him as well as it did.
You know who last night didn't work out for?
Who?
Adam Silver.
Yeah.
I want to see a shot of Adam Silver last night when he realized, like, on the assumption that this was on the up and not a conspiracy theory. Because it looks like a giant conspiracy theory. He had to be like, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like the conspiracy theory happened? Like, are you
he was
kidding
probably
me?"
So bummed out.
This is where we miss David Stern. Because Stern would just steer right into it. He'd be like, "Oh, well, was the envelope frozen? I don't know.
A lot of
Maybe
people
it was a little chilly.
quite
I
upset
don't know."
about this. I saw like quotes from a lot of like previous players or current players. Like LeBron talked about how for a while, and this was before the lottery dropped, he talked about how he's always had a lot of question marks regarding the first overall pick. He went to Cleveland.
Just happened to be from
D-Rose
Akron.
went to Chicago. Yeah, exactly.
I enjoyed LeBron just tweeting out like 7 laughing emojis last night right after the lottery happened.
It absolutely saved Nico Collins' career. I mean, good for him, but man, way to backdoor and do it. Oh man, that's just wild to me.
How long till Cooper Flag is a Laker?
Yeah, right. All right.
Or a Celtic, because he's from Maine.
Speaking of Celtics, Jason Tatum sadly went down in Game 4, 3-1. Yeah, in Game 4. And
You counted them all up there.
Yeah, thank you. It
I
was
like
really
that.
quick maps right off the top of that.
Yeah.
He went out in Game 4 and tore his Achilles. Achilles injuries are always really sad.
He's going to miss all next season.
Probably, more than likely. I mean, with technology, maybe he catches the latter half of the season, but I think it really depends on how the year goes for the Celtics. But more than likely, he'll be out for the entire season. Achilles injuries, they're those one injuries that I feel like scientists really haven't quite figured out yet. I mean, we're getting people back from knee injuries in 4 months. We're getting people back
Aaron
from other
Rodgers
injuries.
was going to make it back for the playoffs. Remember?
Yeah.
He was going to make it back. All they had to do was make it.
Yeah.
He was going to make it right. He was fine.
And the fact that they didn't make it, that's the only reason.
He would have played.
It wasn't the fact that he couldn't walk.
Yeah. Who needs to walk?
But it's really sad for Jason Tatum. I mean, although this series has obviously gone the opposite direction than we all expected, especially you with your bracket. I'm not pointing any fingers.
Bracket's not.
Your East is looking tough now.
Remember, like last week?
Yeah, that was
bracket was looking good.
The East was the lock. We were much more worried about the West than we were the East. But, I mean, the Cavs are 3-1 with the Pacers. Knicks got a 3-1 lead over the Celtics. It is a crazy situation to being in the East. But
can you imagine if the Celtics come back now when Tatum's out?
Oh, that would be.
Ooh.
What happens to his legacy, do you think?
Well, this could be the Bill Simmons Ewing theory come to life yet again, but this time for his favorite team. Oh, this could kill Bill Simmons.
Oh man!
Oh, what a moment! What a moment of basketball and culture that could happen if the Celtics rally.
It was nice seeing, though. I know this is going to be a pretty backhanded compliment, but Jason Tatum's caught a lot of flack from fans the last handful of years, especially this year. When he went down, I didn't see anybody rejoicing. And I think that's really good to see from NBA fans. Nobody wants to see a team lose it due to injuries, especially when it's like the leader of the team. I mean, the Warriors are looking in a tough spot without Steph. The last couple games has been very offensively tough for them. It's never fun seeing a team being taken out due to injury. You just want to see everybody at their best when they're battling. I mean, and the Cavs and Pacers, although the Pacers have really locked in this series and really dominated, I mean, Donovan Mitchell, he's out. He might not play Game 5, so that's going to be really tough for them to even get back into it. It's always tough. And, I mean, you see injuries a lot in the playoffs, but it's never like the best player on each team just dropping, you know?
The Achilles, man, like that is got to be the toughest thing to come back from in basketball. Durant is shortlist, the only star that has come back and looked right. Like, Clay's, I mean...
We didn't really get to see Clay because with his knee the year after. I mean, he missed 2 full years, but...
He's never gotten quite all the way back. I mean, Durant's the only one that's like, oh, he looks fine, but...
Which is crazy because, like, Durant's such an anomaly in basketball. Like, it's just crazy how good he has been his entire career, no matter what's going on.
That's a fact. Well, he's also 7 feet tall and a freak. I mean... 6'10". He's not 7 feet. He absolutely wouldn't be 7 feet. He'd deny it. He'd absolutely deny it. But yeah, that's rough on the Celtics. And now, man, right, like you've just signed Tatum and Brown to these bajillion dollars of contracts, and now one of them gets this injury in his prime. Like, what? You got to shuffle the chairs a little. Like, they're in a weird spot.
Yeah, and I feel like he'll come back with no problem, but you've got other contract decisions to make. I mean, you got Derek White, you got Horford. You're going to have to make a decision with Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard has already mentioned that he feels he should be a starter in this league, and after getting 6th man of the year,
well, he's got next year. They've got a job available.
Very true, actually. Yeah, very true.
He's got a job available next year. Not the way you want to get it, but it's right there now.
I mean, with this current roster, you're going to have to slide Brown down to the 3. Pritchard's going to have to play the 2 for the rest of the playoffs. And like you mentioned,
they'll be
foreseeable future.
Be going really small.
And yeah, although they are small, especially with Pritchard out there, he has been quite literally their best 3-point shooter. So if you're going to move anybody to the 2 guard, you'd rather have it be the 6th man of the year. And he's not the worst defender. I mean, that's the good thing about these 3 with Brown is considered one of the best defenders in the league. Drew Holiday is considered one of the best defending point guards in the league. Pritchard's no one to really laugh at, and he can be an offensive weapon. So this roster can make it happen if they really, really need to. The only thing is like they have not been able to shoot this series in particular at all. Like, it's been really bad.
Yeah, that said, the rest of their season could quite literally be one more game.
Yeah.
Their season could be over tomorrow.
Yeah. I hope the Warriors season isn't over tomorrow. That'd be really sad. I hope Steph comes back. He's still dealing with his sprain to his hamstring. I didn't know you could sprain
a muscle?
Muscles, yeah.
No, I was unaware of that.
Oh, yeah, okay. So that's not like common. I thought it was just one of those Mike's an idiot moments and he needs to learn something that he should have learned 20 years ago. But at least I'm not alone on this one. I thought sprains were strictly bones or ligaments.
Yeah, I mean, not bone. I don't think you can sprain a bone.
Yeah.
That would be...
I guess muscles and ligaments aren't too different.
Well, they are different things.
Like, they're more alike than bones, I guess what I was going with. Ligaments and muscles are more alike than either are than bones.
They are more alike than bones. I guess, Mike, they are more alike than bones.
You know what I was going for. I didn't word that very well.
They are more alike than bones.
Gosh.
Okay.
It's probably a good thing. Tomorrow's my last time.
Yeah, Mike's. Yeah. They're more alike.
You guys are going to miss me, though, man.
Oh,
I'm going to be honest. No one says more wild things than I do here.
That's a fact.
Oh,
well,
man.
Paul works here, too.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, I had Paul on his cruise. I had him make me a list of like all the things he's eaten.
Oh, did he actually do it?
He did it for 3 days or 5 days, and then he gave up.
That's actually longer than I would have guessed.
Yeah, he goes, honestly, he gives me a list of everything, and I will admit, he was totally right. He goes, honestly, pretty normal amounts of food each day, if you ask me. And then he goes, but on the 5th day, I had 11, and he puts in quotation, or he didn't put in quotations, I'm putting in quotations. He goes, 11 things of ice cream. And I was like, what does 11 things of ice cream mean?
What did he do? Like eat the whole carton?
But he's totally right. Like he definitely indulged himself. Well, he indulged himself more than what a normal person would, but I think he's like pretty suppressed for like what we've seen Paul eat before. It's all really normal stuff like Danishes, rolls, croissants, waffles.
Yeah.
And then, like, nothing in excess, really, to be honest with you.
There was the one day
Except for the ice cream.
that I had him counted at 10,000 calories. So, that does seem, it's light work for Paul.
Yeah.
It's disappointing, really. All right, with that, we'll take a break. What's on tap next? Q Sports Talk, ESPN Radio.
I didn't think he'd even do it. Because
5 days is way more than I guessed. I thought you were going to say I did it for a meal.
Oh, I'm sorry. He did it for 3 days.
That's still more than I would have.
But then he like filled me in on when he had on the 4th. I texted him Friday. I go, you haven't written a single thing down, have you? And he texted me back yesterday. And he goes, so I gave up after 3 days. To be honest, didn't miss much. Day 4, I had 3 plates of pasta at dinner. Day 5, I had 11 things of ice cream.
What's the thing? Is that a
what I
bowl? Or like, I could also see Paul, a thing of ice cream being like, the big tub.
Yeah, right.
I just ate 57 gallons of ice cream.
I asked him, and I go, what's 11 things of ice cream on day 5? And he goes, I had 3 bowls, 2 scoops each, and then 5 cones. Which over a whole day, like for a normal person, that's a lot. But I feel like for Paul,
that's like it's probably also the only thing he ate. Paul versus Joey Chestnut. Here's the thing about Paul's eating. Paul is not a speed eater.
No, he's a mass.
He's a mass over time consumer.
And I think he works to his advantage. Most people want to try to eat fast to get as much as they can, but I feel like he really lets it digest. I think what it is his body structure. He's so long that he can.
Well, I keep telling him, like the day his metabolism goes, he's going to gain 30 pounds in an hour.
Oh yeah,
just like.
But honestly, with his height, though, he could get away with it. If he was like 30 pounds heavier, I feel like Paul would still look normal.
Yeah, but he's gonna he's gonna gain 30. Like the first day, like he's gonna gain 30 pounds in like a day.
Yeah, it's gonna hit. I think I mentioned this last
Probably
time.
Won't be for like a decade. But
I think I mentioned this last time we talked about it. But it reminds me of Big Daddy when he's like, when I was your age, I could eat whatever I wanted. Now I drink one shake and my ass jiggles for a week.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's on the pod.
145.
145.
I guess. Yeah, we could give Stefan a little love. Yeah.
He gave you a lot of love. 145.
Yeah, I mean, we love Stefan. What are we talking about? Pork chops? Paulie? We talking about Paulie's pork chops? There was a lot of debating on the YouTube. YouTube chat was getting spicy about Griff. Paul would take down that ice cream in a day, Kev. He'd take it down. 10 pints? Not even a gallon? Oh, yeah. Light work for Paul. We're not talking about Paul Lee. We're talking about Paul. Different people. Paulie is not just hammering ice cream. Paul, our lanky, gangly fellow, who you can see wandering about doing weird stuff. Yes, Paul Gate on Gomez will eat shocking amounts of food at very odd intervals. Paulie likes pork chops from Nichols. Paul likes eating like 7,000 nuggets from McDonald's.
CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
Factual. Back at it as we put the official wraps on things for today.
Here's what's on tap tonight.
Within a few weeks of the Taste of Syracuse, June 6th and 7th, Clinton Square area. We'll have shows and whatnot, all the good stuff we normally do, and eat the samples. Yum, yum, yum. What is on tap in the sporting world tonight? Game 5, Pacers and Cleveland. Pacers looking to close out the series in Cleveland. Game 5, Denver, OKC. That series tied 2 apiece. That game in Oklahoma City, 7 o'clock for the first game, 9:30 for the second. Both of them on TNT. One hockey game tonight. The Winnipeg Jets are in Dallas for the Stars. Dallas leads that series 2-1. 8 o'clock is the puck drop on ESPN. What is on tap for the program tomorrow? Griff will be by. We'll talk to Alan Griffin about his new gig as Boeheim's Army head coach this summer. How does that impact him? How does that impact Syracuse recruiting? What will it be like to be the head coach of that? All those angles with Griff on the show tomorrow, 4:30. For that, we'll likely hear from a lacrosse player as we get you set for Syracuse and Princeton in the quarterfinals on Saturday, 2:30 down on Long Island. With that, have a good night, everybody. Back at it tomorrow, 4 o'clock right here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.